What's going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown, episode 291. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez,
Yo, yo.
Carlos Romero,
What up, what up?
Brett Murdoch,
Yo.
Brian Manjoma,
Yo, yo, yo.
and joining us, special guest, Miss Taylor Lyles.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Yo, you're becoming a regular now.
It's like that, like what?
Yo.
Yeah, what, in the, like span of like less than 2 weeks I've been on.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. The reason for that is because of our main topic, which we'll talk about. Taylor and I were going back and forth, on Twitter and stuff, DMs, and she was like, I wish I was on a podcast I could talk about. It's like, well, actually,
I just so happen to have one.
and it airs tonight. But Taylor, thank you for joining us. This is your first appearance on the main show, like the regular Throwdown, not a special, not a stream.
It is.
This is like the real deal. So I don't know if we've done your origin story or not when you've joined us before.
If she hasn't been,
I think
she
we
hasn't
did
been
like
on the main
like,
show, but
Yeah.
But that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna do it again. Fuck it. Yeah. So we're gonna do it again. Yeah.
Batman's done it like 6 times, so I think we can afford to do it twice.
Yeah, that is true. You know how many times? Yeah. All right. Anyway, so how did you get started with gaming? Like what introduced you to the wonderful, crazy world of gaming?
Okay. So first off, I gotta say, full disclosure, I'm 24 years old because I know a lot of the people I know in the industry are like at least like a couple years older than me. But I started with like my nothing. It's just like usually when I talk about video games and stuff, they're like, "Wait, what was your first console again?" I was like, "It's the Nintendo 64," and they're like, "Oh, you're youngin'." I'm like, "Am I though?" But yeah, I mean, I started like when I was about like 5 years old. My mom got me a Nintendo 64. She got me a Game Boy Color. And so I kind of just like played it a lot, like when I was coming home from school and stuff. And then like when I forgot how old I was, but then I got a PlayStation 2 when it was like when it just like the same year it came out. And that was like my first like console of my own. And I just started like amassing like a video game collection and stuff like that. And, eventually, I just kept playing it more and more. And it kind of just became like more of like a hobby. And then it diverged into like just like a part of like myself and just like something that people just identify me with. So usually people in my life, like if they have like something that they need about like tech or gaming or something, they usually come to me for those questions because they're like, oh, you know what you're talking about. So we'll just go right to you. So yeah, I mean, that's how I started with just like my passion for gaming.
Yeah, and then obviously you evolved to other consoles and all that other stuff. Like, what did you like, beyond the Nintendo 64?
Well, I mean, like, that's hard. I mean, I definitely one of the things that kind of like made me kind of feel really good about like just being a gamer and like having that kind of like experience was when I built my first gaming PC. It was like
it's like building a lightsaber, man.
I mean, no, like seriously, like, cause like I know with like a lot of gamers and stuff, like it's like, oh, we'll pop in a disc and just play the game, or we'll just download the game and call it a day. But like, there's like a special part of like the tech side of gaming that really made me more interested in just like everything beyond the software. So like, learning the components and learning about the importance of a gaming PC, it definitely makes you feel more appreciative of like PC gaming in particular, like just learning the components and the significance of each part and how each part works together as a unit to produce like a really appealing game, and usually a better version of a game compared to like if it's like a multi-platform game. But it was like one of those things that really made me appreciate more of like the tech side of gaming, and I feel like more people really should try to dive into that, just because you'll have a better appreciation of just like gaming and how like software runs on hardware and stuff. But that's just my opinion.
That's awesome. And then obviously you're a professional gaming journalist. How did all that come about?
That actually kind of happened on accident. I started writing when I was like in high school. And I was just trying to get better at my writing. Cause it wasn't like terrible, but it was like rough around the edges, like, just like working on punctuation and like stuff like that. So and I grew up like watching like G4 TV and stuff. So I always had this like dream. I was like, oh yeah, I want to intern for them. Like when I get old enough and I'm like in college and stuff. And, it just happened on accident. I was just like, writing, it got bigger than that. And then eventually I started kind of caring more and more about it. And eventually it was like, the last like year, I kind of was like, I think I can do this full time. So I just kind of put my hat out there, and just like connecting and stuff. And like within the last year, I've wrote for Business Insider, I wrote for Digital Trends. Right now, I work at The Verge. So I mean, it's been a crazy adventure, but that's like the abridged version. But yeah, I mean, it started as just me trying to just get better, just generally in my writing, and then it became. Then I kind of just had this like wild experience where I was like, I think I could do this full time. I should try to like put myself out there. And
hey, you're living the dream right now, though. Which is crazy. That's something I have to like. I finally sank into my head like 3 years. I'm like, oh shit, I'm actually doing it. This is pretty fucking cool. But like, by the way, this is just a quick aside. When I hear stories like that, I always feel a little bit ashamed of, because I hear people going, oh yeah, I worked so hard with my writing. I want to do this when I was a kid. I was like, yo, I kind of just stumbled into this shit. Because writing for me was always like a talent I had, but I never really paid attention, like whatever, And then, it wasn't until this guy over here, he was like, yo, you should write about games. You play so many of them. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. That's stupid.
No, I had the same way. Like literally, like in high school, English was like the class I hated the most, even though like I was really good at it. And they're like, and my teachers were always like, oh, have you ever been like professional, like maybe writer, or like maybe just like focusing more on that, or like tightening up that stuff, or getting into a career that's writing intensive. I was like, no. Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, I liked English. That right? I mean, I always liked to write, but I never even like crossed my mind. Now I'm making money off this shit. It's crazy. But anyway, we're glad you're here, and we're gonna talk a lot of shit tonight. So let's have fun with it. All right, first up, feature story here. So the PS5 and Xbox Series X versions of NBA 2K21 will be $70 as opposed to $50 or $60 like the standard version for the regular consoles. And we kind of already had this discussion last week because we're going to have it again. By the way, I'm just going to say this real quick and I'll jump in later. I'm not surprised by this. Like, I'm actually surprised that video game prices have remained so steady for the last 20 years, basically. So, but anyway, Taylor, since you're our guest, why don't you start us off and then we'll jump in and get fucking crazy.
Yeah, I mean, no, I actually agree with you, Tony. I mean, I'm not surprised that it went up $10. I mean, I'm kind of surprised that this is kind of like how it was like, oh yeah, there is probably definitely going to be a price jump in like what was considered the standard price for a full price game. I mean, we saw it once before where like with the 7th generation. So I was like, and I had this feeling like we don't even know how much the PS5 and the Series X are going to cost. But it feels like it's going to cost a pretty hefty penny, and they keep promising all of this, like all this stuff and things like that. So like I knew that it was gaming was going to get a little bit more expensive as the next generation starts. But I there's like so many questions I have, like coming to the realization like what 2K announced, and I was just like, they gave us more questions than we have answers, and I don't know if I should be worried. I feel more concerned, if anything, because I have a feeling I know a lot of what these answers will probably be. But I don't know, like I feel like there's so many different ways to just talk about it, because like I said, on like because we were talking about it publicly, and we were talking about it on DMs too, and there's just so many questions that I just have, like like $60 games, like are those still going to be a thing? I would imagine they would still be a thing, but are we going to just now say like, well $60 could be a budget title? And I was like, is it though? I don't know. Like, I feel like that $60 price tag is not going to go away, but I'm trying to figure out like where would it fit in just like the world of just like pricing a video game and what's considered a budget title and what's considered a big hit and things like that. And I wouldn't be surprised if like this also would positively impact subscription-based games or services, I should say, like, Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Now, just like to name two off the top of my head. Like, I feel like it's going to enable more people to get those subscriptions versus just buying all these games, especially when a lot of these games are coming out in the same time frame or within like 2 weeks apart from each other and things like that. It will definitely be a lot more convenient for some people to probably most likely just get a subscription service. So this way, if they buy a game and they get buyer's remorse, then they won't have to feel that buyer's remorse. They can test it out on a subscription service and not have to feel like, oh man, I feel bad for wasting $70 on a game that wasn't worth it. But I also wanted to pick y'all's brains on this too, because I feel like with a higher price tag, and there was a conversation earlier in the week too, where everyone's like, well, how long is too long for a game, or how short is too short of a game? So now I'm sitting here like, see, now this question needs to be brought up again, because I was like, if someone's paying $70 for a game, I feel like they should be entitled to a certain length of a game to feel like, okay, yeah, this was worth $70. So I want to hear y'all thoughts on that, because I feel like that's like the biggest thing I want to pick someone's brain on.
Yeah,
I got a counter question for you before that, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Okay.
Brett, just jump in because I already know you have thoughts on this. So go ahead.
I have so many thoughts on things. Do you think the game is actually $60? Because at this point in the world that we live in, I feel like to get the full game, you have to buy it in the season pass. If you want the full experience and all of the content, that's what you have to do. You have to buy the season pass, because we live in a world where they intentionally hold back content. Sometimes even on the original disc, but closed off. So with the idea that, we're paying for a season pass plus the game to get the full game, do you really consider a game only to be $60? Or have we now gotten to the point where very slowly we're paying $100 for the full game experience?
I mean, I don't think it's fair to just say like it's generally that thing. I mean, because some games don't even have season passes, like The Last of Us Part 2. But it's definitely a case-by-case thing. I won't argue that I feel some games do feel incomplete without the season pass. I mean, a prime example of that is the Star Wars Battlefront by what was released in 2015, where there was like 4 maps at launch, multiplayer only. Like, they're like, oh, we'll release more maps and stuff, but you kind of have to buy the season pass to get a complete game. And I'm just like, well, I kind of feel ripped off. But not every game's like that. I won't lie and say some games do kind of rip you off and say, well, if you want more content, you should buy the season pass to kind of get that closure. But I don't want to say that a majority of games are like that, but I will say that there are a few games that definitely try to squeeze more money out of you than what is warranted.
Yeah, and there's also, like, not only is it the season pass games, there's also like the complete opposite, where there are those games that come out really rushed and are not really worth how much, like $60 till several updates later. The Division, Sea of Thieves, No Man's Sky, like those games, come out. A lot of people criticizing it, saying there's nothing to this game, but a couple of months later, there are updates that say, oh, now we're complete. So, with the price rising, is it, are we going to be like, hey, $70 for this? Like, are we going to critique it even more because of this price hike? And also,
like real quick,
Yeah.
in those examples, all the updates have been free. That's one thing to note.
no,
If
yeah,
the
that's why I
updates
said that's
paid,
the complete opposite of game of.
What he's trying to, I think what you're trying to get at is like those first impressions can kind of be too little too late for some people, which in the case of No Man's Sky, that was for me. Like, it was like, like a year later, it was actually the game it should have been. And I was like, okay, well, I'm glad that those people that are still playing now are getting the game that we should have got at launch. But at the same time, for me personally, it's too late for me. Like, that first impression just was like, no, I'm done. Like, I'm gonna head out.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like, I played that game when it came out. I put about 60 hours into it. I will admit that.
Oh God.
And then, like, because again, I'm like, is it gonna get better? Is it gonna get better? It's like 60 fucking hours later, I'm like, is it gonna get better? It's like, it's not gonna get better, Tony. And then it did get better a year later. I don't care anymore. I moved on. I'm done with that.
I fuck those guys. I have a burning like I'm sorry. I have the worst No Man's Sky story ever. Like, and it makes me genuinely angry. And it's not completely their fault, but it kind of is. Like, we waited forever. Rachel and I waited forever to play this game, forever to come out, and then finally, a few weeks before she passed away, they came out with the game, feature incomplete and broken. By the time they fixed it, she was gone. So fuck you guys. Fuck you for promising me a game I didn't get. Fuck you for selling me on a dream I never got to get. And I realize that's not on them. But don't put out shit when you're not supposed when it's incomplete. Don't put that shit out, because it's, for some people, it's more than, ooh, I have to wait a little while. For some people, it actually fucking affects their lives. Just saying.
Well, and I mean, and it's like this price hike, and it's like people are used to, Tony's like the best example. He's kind of like someone that is a creature of habit. It's like consoles are supposed to launch at a $400 price point, because other than that, it's ludicrous. People aren't going to buy it, and it's like, well, video games are going to be worth $70 now, and as opposed to $60 for like it was for the last 2 or 3 generations. So people are gonna start judging games, even more heavily because of this. And
one thing I noticed, which is very interesting. A lot of people, at least I saw on my timeline, nobody was happy about this, but most people were like, "All right, it was going to happen eventually." Yeah, they were like, they weren't okay with it. Just like, "Oh yeah, I guess it's gonna," like, what are you gonna do? Like that was the general idea. There were very few people that were like, "Fuck that shit, I'm gonna wait," but most were like, "Ugh, I guess,"
Well, the funny thing about this is, go ahead, Carlos.
Just really quick, and it's pretty interesting that the game that sort of launched this whole thing is 2K21.
Yeah, right.
Like one of those iterative games.
Our annual release game was the one that sparks this conversation. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I do find it funny how that game's like sparked a larger conversation. No one's really focusing on that game. We're just wondering like, hey, is this going to be the standard now? And I think that's a good
on that realistic sweat.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? But I think it's a good conversation to have because again, I'm not saying I want this to happen, but I think games probably should have been $70 last generation or this generation. I'm like, just because of inflation and all that, like tech keeps going, like pricing and stuff, like new tech at least keeps going up and stuff, and game prices have remained the same, which is weird to me because like development costs have gone up, budgets have gone up, obviously, advertising, which is Brian's favorite, has gone up for games. Like I'm surprised, but then again, as we said before. Are you really paying $60 for a game nowadays? If you really think about it, most games that you buy, you're probably paying about $120 for it. If you're buying all that extra shit,
There's another. Hold on, my turn now. Brian can attest.
It's my turn now.
This is my turn. I am the talking stick.
I am the talking stick.
He's got the talking conch now.
Yes.
Lord of the Flies.
So, as Brian will know, like it's weird because this doesn't happen on the PC side of stuff. The pricing actually is generally more reflective of the amount of game you actually get or the amount of polish you actually get. Like the big heavy AAA titles tend to stay a little bit more expensive, whereas the indie titles tend to drop down. There's not really a fixed price for PC games. There's not. And that tends to work out perfectly. And everybody seems to think that, if you let this happen on the console side of things, everything's going to go wild. They're going to charge you $2 or $200 and the market's going to go all over the place. And honestly, it hasn't. And, so I kind of want to hear from the PC people here. Like, is there a reason why the PC pricing schematic wouldn't work on the console side if you just cut out the fucking Walmarts of the world, the big box retailers?
Before you guys answer, because I'm glad you bring that up. I was talking to my friend Jeffrey, my editor Jeffrey, and he was confused. Jeffrey is a PC guy. For the most part, he plays Switch and PC, but mostly PC. And he was genuinely confused why people were kind of mad about the pricing. It's like games always have variable like pricing. Like, why are they mad? I'm like, they don't have variable pricing on consoles, bro. AAA games are the same price on consoles. So these guys are used to $60 games. And because in his world, games can cost $2. They can cost $60 or anywhere in between. So,
Star Citizen, you can start with a $1,200 game.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But so it's a good question to have because, because it's related to it. It's like the PC guys experience something, as far as pricing goes, way different than console guys, which is very interesting. So, yeah, Brian, why don't you start off first with Brett's question?
It's simple. Competition. Like, I can buy a Steam game in like 12 different stores online. Like, I can buy it from Steam. I can buy it from CD Keys. I can technically buy it on GOG if it's available. I can buy it on Epic Game Store if it's available. I can get it on like different websites that sell it in like rupees or Russian, whatever they use. And I can use PayPal to like convert the difference. Again, I can buy it in so many different ways, hence why they need to price it in an aggressive fashion. When you buy if you buy like a digital console game, you can only buy it from like one place, and that's it, and that's the PlayStation Store. You can't really buy it anywhere else because that avenue is not available. So hence they can just choose, okay, we'll just price it this, and that's it. They have no competition. They have the monopoly on that price point, and that's how they can do it. And this is something that I noticed. If you actually look on the 2K thingamajig, you actually see that the PC one is actually priced at $60, which begs the question: how is it that they're able to charge the next gen version 70 when the PC version is 60. It's really confusing and really odd. It's like, how's that possible? So yeah, so I think that this is a very bad precedence. If it's coming out from other companies, I'd be slightly cautious. But since it's coming out of 2K and they price gouge the crap out of anything, like they just douse things in microtransactions, release games that are half done that break on launch. I think this is them just trying to say, okay, you know what? Let's try and get more money out as we can, just to see what the action will be. And as we've seen with most AAA games, if they can get away with it, they will do it regardless. So I feel like this will be the start of, okay, next gen games will be 70 and that's it. You have no right, no say, no nothing. It's just that's the way things are. Deal with it. And that is very upsetting because then it means that just you'll be paying more money for probably the same quality. I've not heard them say that, okay, the quality will go up, or there'll be a guarantee that it will be this stable or something. They haven't made any change in the quality, or they haven't announced any change in the quality. They've just said, okay, price is more, end of story, which is highly concerning because then as soon as 2K does it, then Activision will jump on board because Activision are just the worst. And then after they jump on board, then the cousins EA will jump on board, and then once you have the big three, Ubisoft will just slumber in and they'll do the same thing. And then once they all do it, then we start seeing Sony, Microsoft doing it all as well, and then that's it. That is now the precedent.
I completely agree with that prediction in that order.
Yeah, I agree. I
Brian,
agree too. I
That
agree
is
too.
Yeah.
terrifying future.
All right, Brian, say it. Say it.
Say what?
It's anti-consumer.
Well, it is. It's ridiculous. Like, what warrants the extra $10 cost? Like, if they bunch up like all the DLC for ten extra dollars, okay, fine, makes sense. But they don't seem to be. It just seems to be price hike on the base game, and that's it, which is highly concerning. I still bet that 2K21 will still have microtransactions, which make it even worse. And I don't see how people can argue like, oh, but the development costs will go up. It's like these consoles are the same architecture pretty much as the current gen consoles. There is no real, okay, we need to like relearn things or restructure things or redevelop this from the ground up. Like, no, you're literally porting an old game from a game from an older console to the newer console. There is no real cost associated with that exactly compared to redesigning, redeveloping, redoing stuff. So it seems like the $10 increase has no real weight apart from they just can do it.
It's my turn now. It's interesting to see how backwards compatible games are going to work because a game like GTA 5, that game is going to be on both. Are they going to charge $10 if you own the game for that update? Did they say it was free? I don't remember. But yeah, like there's, especially for the beginning of the cycle, there's going to be a lot of crossover between generations. So is 2K doing something that is going to be followed by the rest of the industry, or because yeah, I'm with Brian. I don't understand why 2K would do this, especially for a game like 2K21. It's like there are games that are sort of, nobody bats an eye if they were $70. Like for example, GTA 6 whenever that comes out, or you know, Red Dead Redemption 2. But for a game like 2K, that just makes me like think it's, I don't, they can't sell that to everyone. I don't know.
They're gonna try.
Do you think
And
they're doing that? Do you think they're doing that because they know that those basketball fans will pay that price? Because guys who play 2K, or sports games in general, those guys are pretty hardcore.
Well,
why do you think Madden keeps selling out so well each year?
Yeah, and let me tell you this: 2K fans are crazy because I used to be one of them. Those
man.
servers are the fucking worst. 2K servers are the worst servers in all of video games. Man, it's. I used to try to play like 2K like competitively, and it was hard getting fucking matches. and it was hard like playing them like without fucking lag and shit. So yeah, it's people who like, and that's still like we always see those NPDs. They're always like one of the best selling games of the year.
Yeah.
They're always on that list. So yeah, that it's gonna sell. On the PS5, we still we'll still see about that because we don't know how the PS5 will do. And did they even say anything? I mean, whatever this was, a leak or whatever. Did this?
No, this was an official thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So was this? Did they address the Xbox?
Yeah, they said PS5 and Xbox Series X. That's
Gotcha.
it.
It's literally they literally just showed a chart and showed the pricing of them. They showed our current generation. Then they showed the PS3, PS5, and the Xbox Series X, and then they had the Super Edition above that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And it wasn't even like a proper press release. Correct me if I'm wrong there. I think they just tweeted out, like, yo, here's the price. Bam. Like, they didn't say shit. It's like, okay, that's kind of interesting how they just did that.
That's it.
And okay, I think, and by the way, I mean, this is my conspiracy theory. I think the only reason they dropped it today was because tomorrow we're off, right? I think this was going to be one of those, we're going to put this news out on Friday. Nobody will say anything. Just get it out there. Whatever, By the way, real quick. Actually, no, Brett, make your point. I gotta address something that my man, the Brooklyn Bear, said. My unofficial cousin, Jose Polanco. What's going on, brother? He has a very good question. But anyway, Brett. You go first.
Okay, I have a few points. One, they're selling more digital now, and they're still going the same price between digital and regular.
By the way, I don't want to say that games are selling more digitally now. Digital sales have definitely gone up, but I don't want to just say that. Just what I'm saying. Like, we don't have that hard data yet. But
they're pushing for more digital sales.
Yeah,
they really are, and that is making a lot of them more money. In addition to this, I don't understand why people like you. We constantly complain about the Switch tax, the Switch tax. Like, there is the exact same thing going on with the PlayStation. If you look at the PC side of things, on PC it's $14, but for some reason on Sony's site it's still $40 Go back and try and buy an old game and not pay a ridiculous amount for it. Like, pay old school GameStop gouging prices. Like, oh cool, so I can get this 4-year-old game for $40. Awesome.
Is this on the PlayStation Store?
Yes. If you go back and look at some of the prices on the PlayStation stores, they do not lower them. They don't.
What are you talking about? You can literally buy last year's games for less than they were. Granted, they're not PC.
No,
prices,
and they're not. Dude, they're not even Walmart prices.
They're,
like in Walmart, you'll see things drop down to the bottom $20 shelf before you'll see that. Like, I have actually had to go out and buy physical copies of several games because the cost of the ones on the PlayStation Store were 3 times the fucking price. It's like, I'm not going to pay $30 for this game, so I went, I go out and buy it. For
the thing about a Walmart is they're trying to clear shelf space.
I know, but to me the consumer it doesn't.
Site, you're not,
but to me the consumer it doesn't make any difference. And like here.
Yeah, of course it doesn't make any difference, but that's why Walmart can sell.
Yeah, they're trying to clear.
For like $5.
They're trying to clear. And that's my point. These things can be sold for these prices. Sony is just wanting more of that,
and Microsoft too. Let's just be fair.
And Microsoft too.
It's not just.
It's not just. Brett, I know you've been shitting on Sony for the last couple of months, but Microsoft is guilty too, man.
No. I mean, everybody. Like, okay, everybody wants more money, and I put more on PlayStation because honestly, they just own this generation. Let's be fucking real about this. And what was the third thing? The third thing was, if I am to understand the development process correctly, they're going to put in the high textures. They're going to build everything for it to be able to upscale on PC to be the best game that can be. And this is most multi-plat games. And so what you're telling me is you're going to develop the art assets and the resources and then sell it for this much and then charge me more for it. And what you really charge me for is just upscaling in the settings. Like, you're not really doing any additional work. You're not really doing any additional art assets or anything like that. You're just paying more for it.
Yo, man, you get more sweat though, man. 2K,
do you though?
Baby.
That's what I'm saying.
They said it's optimized for next gen, but it kind of just makes me a little depressed. I'm like, why release it on current gen? Oh wait, that's right, because everybody still has their Xbox One and their PlayStation 4. I mean, PC people are just gonna stay the same. I mean, like, And then they're like, oh, but if you want both games, you just fork over $100. We'll give you both. And I'm like, but then you have to bank on the fact that people are going to spend $100. Because what if somebody does have a PlayStation 4? But I was like, what if they don't want a PlayStation 5? And then they're like, oh, well, I paid $100, so I have a play. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's a lot of thinking ahead that I feel like a lot of people just aren't going to do.
Yeah.
But I get the gesture here. I'm not saying it's okay, but I guess in retrospect, you are saving, like at least like $130, or like, it's like it'd be at what, $130, so you'd save like $30 or something. Still not a whole lot in retrospect.
For NBA 2K.
I mean, I guess in retrospect, when you think about it, I mean, you're just like the next gen version is just better graphics, better loading screens, like better performance. Like, it's all very minor stuff in the grand scheme of things when you think about people who are playing on console. Like, most people don't really, I mean, they do care about that stuff, but it's like, they're not, it's not like they can really overclock their Series X or stuff. It's like stuff like, it's like stuff that like people that play on PC care about. Most console gamers don't care about that. Like, I can tell you right now, my brother who that's literally all he plays. All he plays is 2K. I can tell you right now, he does not care if he gets if about 120 FPS in 2K or whatever. Like, it'd be cool, but he couldn't care less about that stuff.
Yeah. But Brian, you heard that, right? You heard that, right? Yeah. We like Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, one of our running jokes is every time somebody says I could care less, we check them on. It's like, no, if you could care less, you could care less. You're like, you couldn't care less, man. It's a pet peeve of me and Brian. We had to correct Brett on that shit. We finally got him right. Anyway,
never get me on Dragon's Age.
No, we'll let that one slide, man. We'll let that one slide.
I know that I hear there's a lot of DLC, and I'm not really sure because I haven't played it. But I'm curious as to if you bought the standard amount of DLC. Is that the one with the packs, or is that the? Anyway,
I mean, the DLC they give you is more like just like a bunch of just like in-game items. It's not necessarily like DLC, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they don't really have DLC for these sports games.
I've got beef with them putting cosmetics behind a paywall. That used to be shit that you earned. But so my question is, including the monthly cost for running the online subscription required for it, and then a $70 game, and then an average amount of DLC for this game, how much will this game actually cost to get the standard amount of actual product? Like, if if it is the median amount of game. Not that you buy all the DLC, and not that you buy no DLC, but you buy an average amount of DLC, you pay the monthly subscription, you pay $70, and this comes out yearly. So you can actually calculate the cost of, to play NBA 2K, it costs this much per year.
By the way, just quickly, like, you're not just paying online subscriptions just for this one game. You're paying that for all of your multiplayer games.
Well,
so.
no, not if you're just one of those
people.
people.
On PC, you don't have to.
No, obviously you don't.
For some games, you don't get me wrong. For some PC, for some games, it does require online subscription. But generally speaking, most like PC games to play online, you don't need to pay to play them online.
No. Yeah, so we're talking about consoles specifically. But Brett, you know what I'm talking about? Like that that subscription cost is kind of diffused with all the other multiplayer games you may be playing.
It is. But if you really want to split hairs about it, let's talk about like this: how many multiplayer games do you generally play at a time? One. And if you were playing that multiplayer game and really into it, you could calculate the amount of months, probably two, that you have really gotten into it and played nothing but that game. That cost would then get rolled into the price of the game.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, some people we talk about the Call of Duty players, we talk about the 2K players. Some people buy the console, and this is literally all they buy it for. And you can't tell me anybody gives a shit about PlayStation Plus games anymore. When was the last time you even fucking checked what the free game was?
Like what, 3 years? No, so you know what? Just for the sake of argument, let's go with it. Like, okay, you're a 2K player. That's all you fucking play, right? Okay, so you buy the game at $70. It's $10 per month, right, for the subscription for Xbox Live and PlayStation, roughly, right? And then DLCs, I don't know how much they go. It's microtransactions, not really DLCs.
Yeah, microtransactions.
Yeah, it's like let's not mislead
people.
See what it really is.
Yeah.
It's microtransactions. It's in-game purchases. That's what it is.
And you know what?
Let's say you fall for it twice. Two $20 runs.
But let's just say let's simplify it. Mostly because I fucking suck at math, right? Okay, let's remove microtransactions out of the equation. $70 game plus $10 a month for to play this game for a year, right? So that's $120 for the subscription plus $70. That's $190 for this game, Brett.
Yeah, $190 a year.
A year.
Plus, and I would say the average microtransaction thing would be they got you twice, not once that one time, but like they got me that second time to get that $20 shark card or whatever that you end up buying like over the course of a lifetime or over the course of a year. They'll get you a couple of times, so you throw another $40 on top of that, you're looking somewhere around of $200 a year.
Yeah, 230 maybe.
$2 to $225 a year. And if you play this game exclusively, like if you're just for this game and you go on console like that, like man, you over Jesus Christ, the course of a generation, you're paying a magnitude of multiple times the cost of what you even pay for the system. Like that shit just gets expensive. And when you're talking about 2K and people that are already wringing money out of you like this, it's a hard pill to swallow. And I realize that these are different people. You know, one is 2K, one is Xbox/PlayStation. But again, they should be worried about the consumer. I'm getting really fucking sick of businesses crying like they're fucking victims or they're people like, oh, well, we tried real hard. We did our best to come out to you. You know, it may not be done yet, but we're totally going to make it up. Fuck you. Fuck you. You put out a good product. I mean, that's just because I'm a tattoo artist. I have to do things fucking down to the nines and release it in its full current state. I can't fuck up a job I'm doing. I can't half-ass it. I always have to whole-ass it. But these big fucking companies release a broken fucking game, and they're like, oh, we're generally really sorry. We've had a tough time sleeping, and our girlfriend just broke up. I don't give a shit about your excuses. You ought to be focusing on the end result, the consumer experience, because that's what matters.
I have a question.
Yo.
Is whole-assing a thing, or did Brett just come up with it?
Yeah, I fucking whole-assing. Yeah, that's a Brett thing now. You know, the people in the chat like it. By the way, I want to move on. We're still going to stay on this topic. I just want to bring up Joey's thing here because this is a good one. Because obviously people are not happy with these prices, but will you be willing to pay $70 if it's a game you actually want? Here's his question. Actually, no. Here's his statement. Cyberpunk 2077, I would have zero issues paying $70, but a game like 2K, nah. So yeah. So are different games different to you? You know.
Dude, I'd pay $100 for any Bethesda Skyrim.
So there it is, you know.
No, I've always thought that. I felt that way playing the game, and that's actually a sentiment heavy in the community, and that's why so many people get like kind of weird, cultish about some of these Bethesda games because they're like, dude, there's like $200 worth of fucking content here. At a certain point, 90 hours in, you start feeling a little guilty for only having paid $60 for it. And you start to be like, well, is there like a DLC? Is there a way I can throw in for $20? Like, I've gotten DLC from like, that's why the horse armor was a thing, man. It wasn't because everybody wanted armor for their horse. It was because they felt they got more from Skyrim than they were actually paying for. So out of good graces, the way gamers sometimes fucking do, they rallied around them and tried to support them. And unfortunately, everybody saw him buy the horse armor, and that's how we got DLC. So fuck you, Bethesda, for starting the DLC thing, but it was also the consumer's fault. But yeah, man, there's tons of games that I would pay more than $60 for.
Yeah.
But especially not an annual one. And you have to prove to me the amount of content I'm getting. And part of that would be a promise to not have DLC and to not have microtransactions. To have everything fully feature complete in the game as it's going to be said and done. And this many hours of total, a 60-hour storyline with no DLC. But yeah, man, like anything above 60, you should pay more than $60 for. I'm sorry. That's just kind of me. Like, I'm happy if I put 100 hours into a game, I'm happy to pay $100 for the game.
Yeah, and this is where I wanted to jump in. Okay, going back to 2K real quick, right? Let's just say, for example, the game costs you $230, right? But what if you put 230 hours into the game and you loved every hour? Wouldn't that be worth it to you?
Yeah, it would. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not that it's not worth it. Because then again, we're talking about the end consumer experience. To some consumers, yeah, it's absolutely worth it. Does that mean that they can leverage the price to like? I don't know if the sentiment in the 2K community is as gracious as it was around Bethesda back in the day. I don't know if they're literally saying, we play this so much. I really just wish I could give the developers more money because I feel like I'm getting more than I paid, and the value is. I've never fucking heard that from an annual game player. Never. And it might have to do with the fact that, like, Bethesda comes out with a game like every 10 fucking years. They work on it for 10 years and they ask $60 for it. Like, there's a certain point, and maybe I'm just part of the group of gamers that think about this stuff, like the new GTA. God, that thing is gonna have so much involvement, so much animation, so much assets. There's so much of everything. But yeah, if they're like, GTA 6, man, $100. Be like, okay, let's do this. Does it include any DLC? Does it include the online? What do I get? Like, if it comes, I'll buy the deluxe version. I actually love the fact they do that shit. Like, that's a great way. And people do. People buy those things. They're like, yeah, I'll get the deluxe edition because I get a couple outfits and a fucking digital soundtrack I'm never going to listen to. Like, most of the time, these things aren't bought because they have, really enticing things or a really cool outfit that you just need to fucking have. They're bought because the community wants to support the developers. I've never seen a community more dedicated to supporting things that they like than the video game community. They will rally around people. They will also get really pissed and childish and yell a whole bunch, but they're active. Video game communities are active.
I want the art book.
If it's a physical art book, do you want a digital art book, Manny?
No, I don't.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
And it pisses me off that Ghost of Tsushima, the special edition, comes with a digital art book. I'm like, fuck you.
I know, right? But yeah, so like I think that there are games that absolutely deserve to be more than $100. I think there should be pricing more like PC, where it's kind of relative, to what you're going to get. So, but the thing I fucking hate though is that when you're like pay $60 and then a season pass and then there's fucking microtransaction in it, and then you realize there's another fucking DLC that isn't part of the fucking season pass that has its own goddamn season pass. You end up paying $260 just to play Destiny with your friends, and it turns out to be a shit game anyway. Sorry.
Tell me how you really feel.
Yeah, but hold on. That can't be right. Do the Third says that 2K20 is the PS game for July. That's got to be a lie. No way. That'd be hilarious.
I think I remember seeing that somewhere.
Wow, that's funny.
Hold on. I'm gonna look it up.
And while you do that,
because I think I remember seeing that the other day, and I was like, that's not bad.
That's funny. And by the way,
it's
wow.
2K20. And there's a bonus game, Erica, and then it's Tomb Raider, the 20-year celebration. So, retrospect, only one of those games is actually worth it. I mean, I don't know. I've never played Erica.
Yeah, I played Erica. Erica's all right. By the way,
so only one game that's actually worth a damn.
Yeah, pretty much. By the way, shout out to
Brian.
Hold on. I got to give a shout out to Dio, man. He's finally joining us in the chat. What's going on, Dio? Dio is old school Throwdown fan. He's been with us for like the past 8 years listening to this podcast. Shout out to you, brother. And one of the few fans. Yeah, and one of the few fans I've met many times, and I consider him a friend. Good guy. Anyway, Brian, go ahead, man.
No, I'd like to point out in that statement that Sony is saying that they are adding an extra game. So you do realize that, like last year, they took out the PS3 games, making it from 4 games to 2 games, and then now they're adding a third game. So basically, they've taken 2 and added 1 to try and make it feel special. Like, I see your shit.
10 years of plus.
like I see what you're doing there. Like, it's not going to work with me. I can do maths,
Yeah. Anyway, any last thoughts on games potentially being $70 for next gen? Yeah, I'm like, listen, I'm not surprised. I'm surprised this didn't happen before. So,
all right, put it on wax. I'm officially boycotting 2K21 for the PS5.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah, now try to tell all of the 2K fans that, because they are a dedicated fan base. Also, side note, can we just talk about the fact how EA, I mean, as much as EA people want to crap on EA, at least EA was like, hey, you know what? If you buy a current gen version of Madden, and then you buy that same the next console that you bought it on before, we'll give you that copy for free. So I was like, people could say what they want about EA and all that stuff, and they get all that stuff, but you know what? They did good by those fans.
And they threw a caveat on, and they threw a caveat right on top of that. They said like for the first month or two, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was like something. It was like something like that. I don't know if it was
like, we're assholes, but we're not that assholey.
I mean, the gesture could have been a little better, I guess. If you think about like how much, because there's a pandemic going on, so I was like, the gesture's nice, but I mean, how many people are really gonna buy the console right, like the next gen consoles because of everything that's going on and the financial strain that a lot of people have. Like, there's so many factors that are going into this. So I'm just like, Yeah,
that at least is something. By the way, one last thing, I do find it kind of interesting how we're potentially going to go back to the pricing of old games back in the SNES days and 64 days. Taylor, like those games were fucking expensive. Obviously, there were cartridges.
I remember seeing ads. Like sometimes I go online, I just kind of look at old gaming ads. Please don't ask me why I do that. I just do that sometimes. But yeah, like I look at how I'm like, geez, that's how much you had to pay for this game. I was like, it's kind of absurd.
And that was in 1990s money too, which is pretty interesting. All right, man, let's move on because we have a lot of shit to cover here. Okay, so Xbox Series X, the reveal for it, or the second reveal, let's just be real here, is supposedly happening in August. We already talked about this before, but now a few more places, including The Verge, are reporting on this. Tom Warren actually did this report with that little mock-up of that little Xbox on it. So yeah, from what reports are saying, this is going to go down sometime in August. Taylor, is this the first party showing? Because wasn't that supposed to happen this month?
Yeah, it's like from what I'm hearing, it's like supposed to be like the first party showing. It's like going to focus on like first party games that are going to be on Series X and maybe on Xbox One or maybe cross gen. But yeah, it's going to be like a more like a software focused thing, not necessarily like hardware focused thing. So honestly, I'm not expecting them to tell me how much the Series X is going to cost or what it's going to release when they show that off. I think they're just going to focus on like Halo Infinite. I don't know, who knows? I think Halo Infinite's supposed to be a launch console, like a launch game anyways, so maybe if they tell us what the release date is for that, maybe they'll indirectly say, oh well, it's gonna come out around that time, but who knows.
Yeah,
but so it's like software focus.
Yeah, this is interesting. So apparently they were gonna have an event in June. June's over, that shit's done, and they were gonna show literally just ended. So they were gonna show the Lockhart, and apparently the name of the Lockhart, why am I not surprised by this? I by the way, rewind the tape. I'm pretty sure I said this on a past Throwdown that this was going to be the name of Lockhart. Apparently, it's going to be called the Xbox Series S.
Wait, we've all said that.
Yeah, we have, right? Like, rewind the tape.
I remember talking to you about this specifically.
Yeah. Rewind the tape.
Hey, Tony.
Yeah. Yes.
Speaking of rewind the tape, I believe you and I had a bet that they would be announcing a second SKU of Xbox in the range, or in the time
remember,
area.
I admitted that I lost that bet to you literally in fucking December of last year.
That's true. But now it's now you've truly lost the bet because it's truly been fully announced.
Actually, Lockhart is still a rumor, by the way. This is just a report.
Is it?
Yeah. It's still a rumor.
Then I haven't won yet until it's actually announced. Yeah. I haven't.
Oh no, you won the fucking bet. Microsoft already said multiple consoles. They even said Xbox consoles with an S. So
again, the thing about it is they called it the Xbox Series. If it's a series, that means there's going to be multiple ones. They don't call you don't call one console a series. That's stupid.
Yeah, but this is at Microsoft. They're known for naming stupid shit. So that's why I was like,
they name it stupid. But the thing is, they're only confusingly stupid. They're not that stupid where they literally call it's like literally releasing one issue of a comic and calling it the series.
Yeah. But we're gonna stick by these names now. The X and the S. So the X will be the super version, and then the S will be the booty version. Very interesting. Shout out to Glorious War with the Bits. What's going on, brother? Let's read his comment message. He was so gracious to throw some money at us. He goes, "What's up, guys? I haven't been able to interact due to new work hours. I will sponsor another giveaway at the end of the year to support the show." My man.
Yo, man, we appreciate that.
Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, he is the one who's sponsoring our Ghost of Tsushima giveaway, which we will launch pretty soon, actually.
Yeah,
it'll be very interesting.
Come out pretty soon.
All right, so Xbox Series X. So there's that. So August, this is going to go down, and then combined with that, the Summer Game Fest, they're going to have a demo event that's going to be coming to Xbox One. So you're going to be able to play a bunch of games on your Xbox One via. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. By the way, I don't really know much about this. Taylor, what can you tell us about this? Like,
Well, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, so in short, just because Tony, you were literally talking about this on Twitter earlier.
Yes.
Where you were like, I miss going to game conventions and gaming
Yes.
shows and stuff like this. So imagine everything great about like PAX is just digital. That's literally like it's like the short version of it. But yeah, I mean, remember like during the Game Awards when they had something similar to it where there was like a bunch of demos for like indie games and like stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's basically like that, but except there's like there's like a ton more games and things like that. So basically it's just like, get your feet wet, like giving more exposure to these games, letting these people kind of like test these games out and stuff like that. Like, but the lineup is actually pretty solid. I mean, aside from Skatebird, I believe I saw Destroy All Humans.
Yes, I'm looking at that now.
Cool.
That's what that sold me right there. By the way, this is kind of interesting. Yes, Brad, Destroy All Humans. Get it ready, man. Telekinetic
Where,
powers.
how, when, now?
Xbox on your local Xbox One, July 21st. July 21st through the 26th, I believe. It'll be 27th.
Yeah, so it's like 6 days or like a week or something.
So,
but yeah, it'll be like a few days.
Yeah, so they say that they're gonna have somewhere between 75 and 100 games. Holy shit, that's crazy. Here's some of the games they named. This is from Xbox themselves. Chris Tales, Destroy All Humans, Haven, Hellpoint, Skatebird, The Veil, Shadow of the Crown, Raji, and Ancient Epic, and Welcome to Elk. I will be honest, the only game I've heard of here is Destroy All Humans. Oh, man.
You hear about Skatebird? Are you serious?
I heard about Skatebird literally 2 minutes ago when you said it.
Really? I could have swore. I don't know, because I remember a lot of outlets, they kind of lost their ish when they saw Skatebird. Like me, I lost my ish when I saw Skatebird, because like, who wouldn't want to shred like with a bird on little tech deck looking skateboards? I think that's kind of cute. I think it's goofy. I think it's funny, and I like how there's so many skateboarding games coming out in such almost a short amount of time after we had like almost none in like the last 5 years.
It's like they're making up for lost time or something. It's like, let's get every skate game out there. By the way, so yeah, this is like a virtual PAX East minus the human body odor. We don't have to deal with that, which is good. and fucking the con flu and all that other stuff.
I was gonna say the lines. I mean, the lines do get kind of long unless you're pressed and have appointments.
This have virtual queues, Brett, what were you saying?
I was gonna say, you can reenact the experience using just a simple few steps. One, take any gym bag you might have, put it in a bucket. Pee in the bucket a little bit, and then put a bag lunch in the bucket, leaving it for about a week. Then stand outside your room for 3 hours next to the bucket before going in and playing 15 minutes of a game, and then repeat the process.
Oh, man. And
I say this loving cons. I absolutely love them. I love meeting new people, but holy crap, the hygiene needs some help. That is not a untrue stereotype.
No, man, real quick story. I remember I went to my first PAX East in 2014. Now, usually you get the funky body odors near the end of the convention, third day, funky. How is it that at 10 a.m. when the joint opens, I already smelling the funk? I'm like, really? This how we doing it, Boston? That's what's going on in the streets right now? That's what's hot? Damn.
Oh.
Disgusting. But no, yeah.
The way you explain that.
It's like, really, bro? It's like, fuck, 10 a.m. on the first day the doors just opened 2 minutes ago. How are you funking like that, man?
They brought the funk with them.
They really did, man. Shit. Anyway, so yeah, shout out to Xbox for doing this. This is cool. This is actually very cool. From Tuesday, July 21st to Monday, July 27th. So I'm assuming you're gonna get to download these games or whatever. Pretty cool,
Just point out something really quickly. Chris Tales. That demo is already out on GOG. I played it like 2 weeks ago.
Oh man,
again,
Brian.
PC just ahead of the curve because that's how we do things.
It is, and I also want to point out, like, I'm noticing, and this isn't me rallying for either system, but I'm noticing Microsoft is doing an awful lot to try and reach out to gamers. It feels like they're doing a lot of self-publicity. Does that make sense?
They're gone back to old Xbox promotion where they literally were like, "Oh, hey, you meet us at this place. Oh, hey, do this there." All this is all grassroots sort of stuff, where you're trying to attract people, essentially make them, even though they're not your friend, they make it seem like they're your friend, and that's what they're trying to do. which I think, which is the opposite of what Sony does. Well, at least Sony has sort of become, or PlayStation has become, which is like they're just the entity, you know.
Yeah, I like the more personal touch. You know,
I think you know, in general, that sort of idea, it makes you feel, you know, knowing that there's people there that, you know, that seem to be interested in, you know, or at least have some interest as to what, you know, people want to play, and also just trying to get in there. And it's like, hey, look, we're doing this for you. It's something that's what they did. That's what Microsoft did years ago. They literally went, you know, on the original Xbox and with 360, they were like, no, we're one of you. We're gamers. So, hey, we're doing this. We're doing that, you know?
No, I mean, it's nice. They're listening. I mean, you know, I think it's nice. I think it's nice when, like, companies kind of are self-aware of, like, hey guys, we hear you, you know, kind of like Crytek and how they saw people were watching that leaked trailer for Crysis Remastered, and they're like, we don't like this, and then they posted a statement yesterday, and they're like, we hear you, we're gonna delay this game because we know it's not up to the standard. And I'm like, I like that. That's a nice touch. You can argue that I don't know why it took for them for a leaked trailer to kind of say, oh, you know what, maybe we need to add a little bit more polish. But hey, listen, it's a nice gesture, you know? But yeah. I mean, when I literally saw, like, what happened from all those fans, like, criticizing it, I was like, all I could think about was, like, the Sonic design from the Sonic movie and how fans kind of...
Oh, man.
So I got when I saw it. I think when I wrote the article, I pointed out to, I was like, last time I could think about something like this happening, and like the people working on it was like, we hear you, we gotta stop, we're gonna take a step back, and we're gonna give you something better.
Here's the thing, though. It's like, you can't tell. You couldn't tell this was looking like shit. Like that kind of sounds weird. It almost sounds, you know, like it's like they don't know until people tell them it is messed up.
Yeah, it's like nobody in that entire internal team.
What do you have behind the scenes? A bunch of yes men, like, oh yeah, this is great. It's the greatest it's ever looked.
And this is Crysis. A friggin' 20-year-old game? What is it now?
It's like it came out in like 2007, and remember everybody was talking about how like it was so graphic. It was like its graphical fidelity was something like unlike anything ever seen before. And you know, the whole meme, like a 10-plus-year-old meme where it's like, but can it run Crysis?
Yes.
Can your computer run Crysis? Like, you know, so it's like when you have something like that, it's like, I feel like it's like, you know, you kind of have to keep this, you have to be a little self-aware at the fact that like, hey, they're going to notice if it's not up to par.
It's crazy that they I'm just putting this into context right now. They're delaying, a game is getting delayed of a remastered that came out when I was a teenager.
And it's because the fans negatively reacting to something that got leaked online. Yep, that's exactly what's happening. You totally, yep.
We live in a weird world.
We're living in a crazy. This is the worst timeline. I'm convinced.
Dude, I'm right there with you. We live in the darkest timeline.
Yeah, we really do.
Is just a whole episode of
fuck
Twilight,
this entire year, man. Actually, no, not the entire year. Fuck the year after March. Like, you know, January and February were cool. You know?
Yo, man, let's not get rid of New Orleans.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. February stays, man. You know, that was a good year. By the way, shout out to Dio for giving us 100 bits. Appreciate that. And he says, forgive me, I'm still warming up to Twitch since I mainly interact more on Twitter. I'll try to catch you guys on here more often. Appreciate it, man. You already know.
I think it's 200 bits, isn't it?
200, my man. Give us that money. You know. All right, man. Let's move on here. Okay, so let's talk about the Cyberpunks. So Cyberpunk 2077 is removing wall running, which is a feature I didn't know the game had until this story came out. I'm like, really?
I feel like it allows a lot of people.
Yeah. I was like, where?
So why? Okay, we didn't know that you could do that, but why?
I'm going to read their statement. Wall running is something that we removed due to design reasons, but there's still going to be a lot of flexibility in how you move, that's for sure, said level designer Max Pierce. That's what he told Game Reactor. So, yeah, I guess it just didn't jive with what they were doing.
My guess is yes, okay, the world is an open world, but they don't want you running to some fucking places where they don't want you to see.
Or loaded fast enough, like it won't load fast enough, so they
Yeah,
don't want
like
you.
if
Yeah,
you're running up, I mean, yeah, you can run up a wall. So okay, so now what can you do while you're running up the walls? Okay, so now you can probably get yourself into some trouble and literally get into a place they don't want you to look at.
yeah.
So they probably close that shit down. They're like, okay, this is going to get too unpredictable, so we're closing that. We're getting rid
Yeah,
of
it'd be terrible if you could just wander around the city doing what you want and not having artificial blockades stopping you.
Yeah, well, it's just like
Like
it's just like
Gravity.
it's just like being in being in a movie set. It's like
I get it.
there's some sometimes you just walk right behind one of the buildings and all of a sudden you realize it's just a facade and there's nothing inside.
He's got a point there, Joe.
Dude, I have to say that's one of the things that I'm actually genuinely impressed with Last of Us about. Like Morgan and I were sitting around talking about, like, man, you can just honestly see in the house and see if there's anything in there and peek out the window to see what's going on out the street, and the mirrors all work. There's a bunch of little things that you're like, I didn't know that needed done, but I think it needed done.
But I mean, again, in a world like in those open sections of Last of Us, they're also quite controlled. They do a good job of blocking it off with a bunch of walls and stuff all over the place.
Most of it is blocked off.
Yeah. You got a bunch of cars, trees, buildings.
Yeah,
There's always something.
But like again, like you have a place like Night City where I'm sure a lot of the upper areas is probably probably a lot of the problematic areas. Where in other words, that's probably you look up in the up into the up on the higher levels. Maybe that stuff is the lower res shit.
So I'm wondering, when are they going to let us know that they got rid of the swinging mechanics?
Oh man, who knows at this point?
By the way, I'm curious to see what Brian says.
I already said it, like in the Discord. Like, to be honest, I don't really care that much because one, I never knew this was a feature, so to me, I wasn't expecting it. And two, chances are they won't be as good as Titanfall. Titanfall had excellent wall running.
Yeah,
Titanfall,
that was fantastic. So, Brian,
So
would you
even
say
then-
would you say you're not fussed by this feature being removed?
No, again, I could not care less.
Yes. Oh,
Seriously, like
man.
I genuinely don't care. Like it's a small thing. If it's like a big feature, like hey, we are removing the ability to customize your characters. Like, okay, cool. That's a big change from what they've been advertising. But it's a small thing. I guess it only works in limited places, and plus there'll be so many other things that it's just not that important to me.
Yeah.
It's a small feature removed from a big game, so I don't care.
But the tabletop RPG has it. Why can't you do it, man? Fuck this game.
Irrelevant native says leave Mirror's Edge out of Cyberpunk. Peh. Again, I'm kind of the same. I mean, you guys already know my thing with Cyberpunk 2007, so I'm not exactly looking forward to it. But so knowing this, I'm like, okay, I didn't know the game was going to have that in the first place. Whatever, I didn't think this didn't seem like a fast-paced type of game to me anyway. So it always seemed like a kind of slow RPG. So I'm not surprised that's not in there. Very interesting, though. I did ask this question on Twitter, and I got some responses. This is just me just thinking out loud. I was like, hey, you think this was removed because the last-gen versions can hang? Just throwing that out there. Because a lot of people forget that this game is still going to be running on the old school PS4 and Xbox.
I mean, I just think it's just an environmental thing. I think didn't the environmental guy even comment on this shit?
That is the comment. That was him. Yeah, the environmental guy.
Yeah, the environmental guy. So it's essentially saying, okay, these things are not as detailed as you would.
Level
think they
designer,
are.
actually, yeah.
The level designer. So I'm like, okay, so like I'm sure they ran into some crazy shit where like a guy jumped out of the 50th floor of a building and thought they could run on the walls.
Yeah, now, I'm pretty sure it's some kind of streaming thing where it's like, okay, it's just better to do that because they don't want, they want to minimize loading or whatever. Because obviously, with a game like this, you just want to have one big loading thing in the beginning, then no more loading whatsoever. So I'm pretty sure that's that. It's just something that made me wonder, like, did they have to cut anything out of this game because of the old consoles? Just something I think about sometimes, Who knows? Because it's like, everybody's just seeing this as this big next gen game, still a last gen game too, or a current gen game. All right, let's move on here. All right, speaking about you know, we were talking about Fallout before. Let's talk about the series. Fallout TV series is coming from Amazon. Very interesting. Brett, you're the big Fallout guy here. What do you make of the prospect of a Fallout TV series?
I'm genuinely torn. I'm excited. I was really nervous, and then I read some of the people who were working on it, some people that did the good part of Westworld, and I think it could work. And they especially mentioned that they're really leaning into the Fallout aesthetic, kind of that, you know, moments of humor, a little bit of wackiness, some kind of B-grade post-apocalyptic stuff. Like, so I get the feeling from the way that they explain it, they do understand the hooks of the Fallout universe. That's the first thing. Secondly, it's a great opportunity because Fallout is about the world. It's about your character in the world, but it's really a story about kind of the world. That's the thing that makes it interesting. So you have all the elements of what is essentially an anthology, where you can tap into the same world that the games are in, without really disrupting or retelling anything. That leaves you the option for a brand new open storyline. So as long as they don't pull, like, you know, the bad part of The Walking Dead from it, then it could be a really kind of fun series, as long as it's a little tongue-in-cheek and doesn't take itself too seriously, because it's honestly really a big thing with Fallout. You know, it's a little goofy. It doesn't take itself too seriously. So at first I was really apprehensive, but the more that I read about it, the more I kind of saw that they seem to be coming from the right direction. They seem to kind of understand, and that it might be an opportunity for a decent show. And if not, it can fade away into the darkness without really affecting the franchise. So I'm not, unless Bethesda tries to tie the game into the next Fallout or something like that, or unless they're trying to retell one of the Fallout stories, which work better in a video game environment than anything else, then I think it could be kind of cool. I'd almost even watch a Fallout anthology TV series. You know, here's a few episodes about these characters. Here's a few episodes about these characters. It just really depends on how they tie together. And the fact that Westworld works, like, I haven't really seen much of Westworld, I'll be honest, but the bits that I have seen and what I've heard, it sounds very much like something that would happen kind of in Fallout. You know, it's old kind of theme park and androids and blah 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 and all this stuff, and it's just such a broad universe. It's kind of brilliant in the fact that it can bring 1950s stuff together. It can bring androids, it can bring mutants, it can bring zombies. It's one of those things. I think the success is it sits on the nexus of genres, where you can kind of lean a little bit more into the zombie stuff, or then lean a little bit more into the super mutant, which can kind of take on a David and Goliath story archetype. You can talk about raiders and corruption. There's just, you can lean into so many things, some of it being absolutely fucking ridiculous. So I would say it's one of those things. It's a great candidate for a show.
Hey, Brett.
It could be easily mismanaged, though.
You can also do the whole, you know, the ghouls being, you know, part of a third-class society and people looking down upon them, and, you know.
Yeah, there's honestly, there's the reason it's worked so well is because it has all these stories. You can go on check out an abandoned aerospace museum, or hear ghouls talk about what it was like in the future, or in the past that is still our future. So that, you know, they can tell you how the war with China happened, and how, you know, one of the cool things about the Fallout universe too is nobody knows what's really going on anywhere. There's not a whole lot of mass migration or communication, which is one of the reasons that each Fallout game can just take place in a separate area, and it's fine that nobody really knows about it. You know, even 76, like, yeah, there weren't a lot of bombs dropped there. There were still people in the vault. Now they're coming out, and now there's people swarming into the area to build. And they don't even touch on that a lot in the newer games, like the New California Republic or whatever the fuck it's called. You know, there are actual factions. There's the Brotherhood of Steel. There's, I believe it's New California Republic, that have a history of warring with each other. Like, there's a huge, deep lore base that's all thematic that you can tap into. Like, it's none like, this guy did this, and this guy did this, and this begat that. It's, you know, it's a lot of flavor text. So there's so much flavor text, and the world is fully fleshed out, that really all they have to do is pay attention to the lore. And there's fucking guidebooks, like a whole lore guidebooks. So if they're listening to the fans, and this is the time where it's really big, listen to what the fans have to say. I think the entire guidebook is actually a fan-made lore guidebook that compiles everything from all of the strategy guides, figures out what's wrong, what's retconned, labels it used to be this, now it's retconned into this. Like, it goes super deep. If the developers of the TV show actually even found or looked at that, it's pretty much a cheat sheet to not step on the toes of the game franchise and actually expound upon some really cool stuff. So I'm terrified they're going to mismanage it, but if they manage it right, it could be one of the more successful things because it's not trying to retell something. It's got the Guardians of the Galaxy thing where, yeah, there was something there before in Guardians of the Galaxy, but for the most part, it was an unknown, which allowed them to do whatever they wanted with the movie. Like, there aren't famous characters in the Fallout universe. There are factions, there's places, there's history, but there's not anybody that stands out as a character.
Except for Ron Perlman.
Even then.
Ron Perlman was probably the most recognizable character, and he wasn't actually in the game. He was just the voiceover.
Yeah. The voiceover is definitely, War Never Changed. Like, yeah, that is certainly iconic, but I can't really think of anybody else in the Fallout universe that is even known from territory to territory. Like, there might be people who are locally like, yeah, some people in the town talk about this guy that did this, but it's very much frontiersy. So there's not even like legends of people. So I don't even know what the story is going to be about, who the main character could be. So they have the ability to do kind of what Walking Dead did, where, slice of life in this thing, but hopefully, Walking Dead took it way too seriously. So, short answer, long answer to a short, long explanation to a short answer. It's got a lot of potential.
Well, they'll take this one pretty seriously too. I mean, it's the people from Westworld, right?
It's the people from Westworld.
Well,
it's the writers from two of the Batmans.
Too. Like, Todd Howard's going to be an executive producer on the project too. So
maybe he'll be in the show.
Yeah.
He shows up in everything else.
Two of the writers from the Good Batman. Some of the writers from Westworld, like the people making this show, actually have a lot of success under their belt, and they've ordered multiple seasons and committed to like a sustained effort. So it's not going to be one of those one and dones, and that's the thing. That's a big thing these days. I don't want to get into a show, especially a streaming show, that you're only going to put out one season for, and I'm never going to hear it again. So making a commitment to multiple seasons to really try and make this work, unless it's a complete dumpster fire, it's not going to. My big fear, especially with this stuff, it's going to suffer the curse of streaming sci-fi shows. You notice they never go past season 3. Every fucking sci-fi show dies at season 3. The Expanse is kind of the exception. And once you get past season 3, you're like, oh, you might actually be able to do something. But there's a fucking line. And if you're telling me that you're going to support this past that line, and you're making that commitment now, then it allows me to get invested a little bit more if it's any good without, being like, I'm just, because a lot of times there's a lot of people like me, like, I'm going to wait for another season of this to come out before I binge it because it might actually be interesting.
Yeah. Oh,
like,
Brett,
do you really want to binge 8 episodes of something that you're really loving? Like, no, man, you're going to just kind of wait.
Yeah, Brett, real quick, The Expanse actually was 3 seasons until Amazon saved it. So you're right about that. 3 seasons is the cutoff point.
But wasn't the Expanse on the Sci-Fi channel?
Yes, it was. And Sci-Fi usually kills their shows after 3 seasons. Yeah.
So there you go.
Brett. I'm just saying Brett is correct. He's right about that. Real quick, I'll just say I don't care. I don't give a fuck. About this. Like Fallout, I just want to play the games. But the thing is, with me in general, I just don't like modern television. So I'm like, this is just like that Beavis and Butthead show. That's probably going to be bad. This one. Is probably gonna
Wow, okay, Tony, jeez.
Hey, I have to throw it out there. Listen, real quick, and I know this is a video game show, Beavis and Butthead, one of my favorite shows of all time. Manny knows I used to watch it all the time, the original. Love that fucking show, right? They brought it back in 2011. It was great. It was actually harder edged than it was in the past. 2021, when this shit's probably gonna come out, that ain't gonna be hard edge anymore. I'm just saying.
I mean, to be fair, they said they were gonna try to appeal it to the people that watched it when it first came out, and they're also because they're gonna set them in like a Gen Z era or something. I was like, oh god, I don't know. I was like, how is this gonna play out? Like, I kind of want to see this. I was like,
yeah, I'm not optimistic about that.
I'm not at all, but it will.
I'm just curious to see what kind of Gen Z trends they're going to pull, because I'm just like, that's the thing that kind of like, I was like, oh god, these couch potatoes in a Gen Z era. I gotta see
What the fuck is a Gen Z?
It's a post-millennial.
Post-millennial?
Yeah.
So like
Taylor might be one. Are you Gen Z?
I was born in '95, so you.
Oh, never mind. You're millennial, probably.
Yeah. Oh shit, Adam's
yeah.
finally joining us. Anyway, yeah, Fallout TV series. Hey, Mr. Vale, what's going on, man? Late to the show.
I fell asleep. I took a nap after dinner, and
Happy
it
birthday.
turned into. Thank you. It took longer than a nap. I woke up and all the lights were out. So I'm like, what just happened? It's like, we all went. My wife said we're sleeping.
You Rip Van Winkled that one, right?
By the way, Adam, this isn't like Thursday that you thought it was. It's actually Thursday, July 9th. It's not the 2nd, man. That's how long you slept. You slept for a week, bro.
What?
Anyway, Adam, did you hear about this Fallout TV series?
Yeah, I told Brett. Once I saw it, I sent a message to Brett because I'm like, if anybody's going to be excited about this,
yeah, Brett just regaled us for the last 20 minits about it.
Yeah,
let me tell you of the time.
Why does Brett sound like Gandalf?
Flame of voodoo with my tail.
I'm excited. Just the budget. That's what I really care about. Because, I mean, it's easy to do something, I would think, just to throw people in a desert or a wasteland, like a sci-fi special type thing. It doesn't cost much. But if they throw in some serious money and they really go deep into the story, into that universe of Fallout and bring in all the factions and stuff, it could be entertaining. And we know they have money. I mean, we still haven't seen the Lord of the Rings series that they worked on, right? That's about to come, I think, in a few months or some shit. I know it's ready.
That's probably going to be terrible, too.
Don't say
terrible.
To think positive. If there's anybody, think about it. They got all this money. They're trying to lure people to the content, to their service. Not like YouTube, which sold off all their shit, like Cobra Kai and stuff.
Real quick, I want to give a shout out to Irrelevant Native for giving us some, for subscribing. Same thing for the Coalition TV for subscribing. Hey, that's Rich. That's my man. What's going on, Rich?
Oh shit, I heard.
You gotta give a special shout out to Barry Burton, who just gifted all those.
Oh damn, Barry! Thank you, man. Making it rain tonight on Throwdown.
He's down under, right?
No, Barry Burns from New York, man.
Oh, what the bullshit?
Or no, wait, he's from Raccoon City.
Yes,
that's
right.
Yeah, I was like, Raccoon City. Come on now.
Yeah, you're thinking about the Glorious War. Damn,
Glorious.
Barry. Yeah, Glorious War. By the way, he says he's going to sponsor another giveaway later on this year. So.
Oh shit.
Barry, thank you for that, man. That's fucking amazing.
I still have
Thanks, Barry.
I have to give.
Has to get a Resident Evil game.
Thanks, Barry.
Yeah. Anyway, any last thoughts on Fallout?
Flame of Odin.
I have plenty, but I feel like it's already been addressed. But I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of excited. I mean, it's still like in its early stages, so like I'm curious to see like the casting, where they're gonna go with this, because like there's just a lot of lore. I mean, I've been studying the lore of Fallout for like years now, and there's a lot of stuff that you could talk about. Like, I really hope that Todd Howard, being an executive producer, I hope that he tries to like, first off, maintain them, keep them a source material like true to the show and all that stuff, but also I hope that they don't just use this to adapt into one of the games. I feel like they really just need to just take it to the next level, just kind of like explore this full world, because like we only, like each game we only get like bits and pieces of it, and like there's a lot that Fallout could really explore, and like I feel like there just aren't enough games that are coming out to really show how much this universe has to offer.
Yeah.
What if it becomes like the bag and the helmet and all the other stuff that has to do with Fallout? It is what it only looks like what it's supposed to be, but really when you look a little bit deeper, it's really just a cheap cellophane bag.
There was a show that did that. Not so long.
Anyways, I think can everyone agree that the first episode is gonna be, okay, you wake up, you're living your life normally, and it's all gonna end with you leaving the vault.
Oh, with the vault, yeah, I agree with that.
Oh, the whole first
Yeah.
season is you still in the vault.
Oh, I could see that. That's how they
yeah.
can save money on the budget.
Yeah,
Definitely
to
can
see
do
if
that.
people are interested. If people watch, and
It's
we'll
not
be
like
back for season
Amazon
2.
doesn't have the money. They got the money, but yeah,
They do. They do.
Yeah, well, first season.
Actually, you know what they'll do, right? Because they need to have those canned episodes. For you guys who know, canned episodes are episodes that mostly just take place in the same set, right? So what they'll do is every couple episodes they'll have flashbacks to the vault. That's where they save fucking money on super mutants and all that other stuff. You know?
Yeah,
Hold on a second. How much
kind
do
of
you
like
think?
Wait, what happened, Brett?
it's kind of like Arrow. It's kind of like Arrow. Remember where Arrow used to always put it on the
too
island?
much. Oh, it was
Yeah.
nonstop for like
Yeah.
5
Yeah.
seasons. They
Actually,
kept
you know,
doing
here's a
flashbacks.
great example. If oh my god, I forget the name of the show. It's the same one. Heroes of Tomorrow, right? They would do that. Like whenever they would have an episode with a crazy big CG monster, the next episode they'd all be stuck on the ship. Like, you know.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, Tony. Like, how much do you think set pieces are going to cost in Fallout?
I'm more thinking about the creatures. The creatures are going to cost a lot. Set pieces are not.
The creatures will.
Yeah,
but think about it. Like,
no, the set,
literally
what's a set piece? Just go out into the desert, throw some shit around. There you go. There's your set. You know.
Yeah, it's gonna have
Well, that's also expensive too. That's also expensive too. That's the whole reason why they didn't build all that shit in the most recent Mad Max movie.
Yeah.
You know, it's not in 1985 or you know when they literally could just go to a fucking a junkyard and do all that stuff.
Actually, no, you're right about that, Manny. You're right about that. Just do it all on a green screen. You know.
Oh, they could do it like Mandalorian, where they literally have that screen room, where it was literally a whole room that was built in that could turn into any set.
Yeah, so they could do that, you know. But we'll see again. You know, modern day TV shows. I have no hope.
And they need to put that.
Go ahead, Brian.
Yep. Am I the one that's slightly concerned that this feels like they're just doing it because The Witcher was popular and hence they're like, hey, you know,
sure.
They most definitely are.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
look at how many shows or video games that are being turned to like the small screen or the big screen. I mean, like there's a Cuphead show on Netflix for Christ's sake that's coming. Like,
no, Brian,
I mean,
you're not alone anymore, my friend. That's a great point. You know.
Yeah,
That's
on my Cheerios, Brian.
Yeah.
No, they've been doing this forever, man. That first Hollywood dug through the pile of novels that they could turn into things, and when they ran out of ideas for that, well, I imagine at some point they had original ideas, and they started publishing novels, and then they moved into graphic novels, and we had a whole bunch of graphic novels being turned into movies and TV shows. And now that they've mostly spent that, they're looking at video games for like it's just Hollywood being desperate, and searching new mediums for new stories because they've. For the last 2 years, it's been graphic novels. Everything's been a fucking graphic
remakes.
novel.
Don't forget remakes.
Yeah.
Remakes.
By the way, I should add that the Witcher show is actually based on the novels, not based on the video game. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm slightly concerned because I don't know this. I've just not heard that it's a thing. But Fallout wasn't anything else before it was a game, right? Like the IP is
So
the game. So
Well, it heavily ripped off of Mad Max. I mean, the original Fallout, you literally had the Interceptor from the Mad Max.
Yeah,
game,
but
so.
he's saying there were no Fallout novels before that or anything like that.
Yeah,
No
it
source
wasn't like
material.
based on a novel
Yeah.
series or anything like that.
and that's why I'm
Like,
slightly concerned because like at least The Witcher had something there. Like it had a pseudo script, if you wish to call it that, being like the books. And without that, I don't know. Again, I'm just concerned that it has there's nothing existing that's already written down that they can pull from to make the show good, and that's my concern. Again,
I mean,
it
they
could
got
turn out
plenty of
that-
lore and history on like several of the factions and like the way like the certain like locations and stuff were built. So I mean, but again, you have to like really study the lore for this. But I mean, I hear what you're saying on that. Like if we're speaking like in terms of novels and stuff, like yeah, they don't really have anything on that. But because it's very rich in lore and all that stuff, like I feel like they can still leverage it in this regard. But that's just my 2 cents.
If you wrote all of the lore down, even just the terminal things and the notes that you find, you could write several novels of just anthology short stories taking place in Fallout.
All they got to
I'll finish it up with just like the final phrase. I hope that they don't do a Last Jedi with this, or Star Wars new sequels, whatever you call it.
Oh
Again, once again, plenty of lore, plenty of everything very rich, threw it out, made something new. That's
See,
my
Brian,
concern.
I think that's what I'm
It's my
excited
concern. I'm
about.
not saying it's going to be bad. I'm just saying that I am concerned, and I just want to put that out there. Again, I wanted to be good because again, I think it'd be pretty cool, but I am concerned. That's all.
Okay, so, Brian, do you not feel that since there's no story, that there's no story to fuck up?
No, I just feel like the fact that there isn't anything that they're pulling from is rather concerning because I've seen other IPs where they don't pull from anything and they end up messing it up. Whereas The Witcher is a great example of them pulling from something and making something good. So hence,
Oh, like the Halo TV series, that first
Well,
attempt.
the original Star Wars didn't have source material, so and that did pretty good.
Yeah.
Well,
And-
that was heavily taking from old Flash Gordon.
Flash Gordon, yeah.
and all that
Yeah,
other stuff.
Everything these days take away stuff from everyone.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Like and therein lies the thing. You can create new things from old ideas. I mean, Mandalorian is essentially just a Western, but with space stuff.
I mean, you could also argue the same thing about the Last of Us show that's coming out on HBO. Like, oh, it's just based on the games, and like, yeah, there's like a few comics that were based again on the game, but they have a solid so far lineup of people who are going to be working on it. Like the guy who worked on the HBO Chernobyl series who was like the creator of it, and plus Neil Druckmann's going to be involved. And like I said before, like Todd Howard's involved in the project. Like if they didn't have anybody who worked on the Fallout games, or at least the newer ones involved on the project, like I would be sweating a little bit. But the fact that they are bringing in someone who actually has worked on the games, or at least some of the games, it shows to me that it's like, okay, you know what? We're not just going to let Hollywood do a 180 and just let them do their own interpretation. Let's bring in somebody who actually knows what we're talking about so we can actually stay truthful to the source material. Let's not make this, because again, video games already have a bad misconception, especially like video game movie adaptations. So it's like, I like that people are now starting to say, hey, maybe we should actually get people who worked on the game involved in the show, because then it probably won't suck.
Like Mario Brothers, the movie.
Yeah, I got to say, Bethesda is very, very aggressive in protecting the Fallout intellectual property. Like if you remember all the stuff that they went through with Obsidian and everything like that, like they lay heavy claim to turning it from the PC game into the franchise that it is, and they do not want to give anybody else credit or let anything of that go. So I'm pretty sure that's why Todd Howard's kind of there, is to maintain ownership and make sure that they don't fuck up anything. So that makes me, it's a pain in the ass for anybody working with them. But I think it's a good thing overall.
I think the most important thing is who's making it. Like it's been mentioned, it's like, all these people are involved. It's like, do we trust those people? I think that's the best thing to, try to get to see whether we're enthusiastic or pessimistic about it. Whether it has source material. What happened?
There's a lot of talent. I'm not sure if you guys heard me. One of the writers on it was he wrote for both of the good Batman movies. And like I said, Westworld. So they're at least pulling high caliber talent. Whether those people will perform, I can't tell you. And whether putting that much ego in a room is going to be good or bad, again, I can't tell you. But it has the recipe of something that could be good.
Yeah.
So I'm not too cautious yet. Now watch me turn a 180 the first time they show something. I'm like, what the fuck is this bullshit?
That's not a good Thunderclaw at all. That's just a guy with a mask
That's not what
on.
Nuka-Cola looks like.
If you give Christopher Nolan a Fallout movie, then I'm not gonna be pessimistic. I'm like, oh, this is probably gonna be good, just like every other Christopher Nolan movie. So a lot of credence goes to the creators a lot of the times, because they're at the end of the day, or the creators and the studio, because at the end of the day, those are the people who get to make the big decisions on how these stories are shaped up.
Can somebody add because I'm cooking dinner? Can somebody at a PC actually pull up like who is involved in this? Because I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it'd be good to at least mention since we're talking about it.
Is it in the article, Tony? I can pull that up.
I believe it is. Yeah.
All right, let me take a look.
Yes, the Westworld people, apparently.
Yeah, it's like the creators of Westworld. Todd Howard's involved.
And Westworld,
So, we have all these sets
It
already.
says,
Can we reuse this somehow?
Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy.
Those are the Westworld people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, Westworld. I like the first
Westworld.
They're
season.
also showrunners, I believe, for Westworld. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, because I like the first season of Westworld, but man, it did fall off.
The second one fell off hard. Third one
Yeah.
just went a completely different
It's
direction.
because they didn't have Yul Brenner in it, man.
That's right, etc., etc.
Man, he's the only one that got that joke.
Yo, man, I'm all about that original.
Yeah, the
one, man.
original movie, you know, it's like that TV series. I don't need that, man. Go for the old school, man.
I mean,
Yul
it's
Brenner,
the
for,
first-
Yul Brenner for
It was a
life,
quick
man.
one, yeah. I have that movie. It
The
was a good
first,
one.
I mean, the original one, yeah.
Yeah, Michael Crichton, by the way. Michael
Yeah,
Crichton
Michael
book.
Crichton. That's directed by Michael Crichton, by the way.
Was
Yeah,
it?
Nolan and Joy are.
That's right.
Sure.
Jurassic Park.
Crichton.
Holy shit, he did direct that movie. I didn't know that. It's pretty awesome. The
Mhm.
the guy who wrote the book directed his own movie.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yo, man, it's the way to do it.
Yeah.
When you got
What happened to George R. R. Martin?
Yeah. Oh. Hey, by the way,
Okay,
the
that
epi-
motherfucker did not have a roadmap, and that's the same reason Westworld
yeah.
failed.
By the way, to be honest, though, those episodes that George Martin wrote for Game of Thrones were fucking awesome. The TV
Oh,
series,
yeah.
they were
They
really
were.
good. You know.
Now, if he could go finish that book,
You know. Man.
Well, I mean, here's the problem.
Hey, George, isn't
HBO,
there a book that you have to read?
no, HBO wrote an ending for him, but nobody likes the ending, so now he has to write it again himself, and he doesn't know what to do.
Oh shit.
I'm sure he's
No,
like,
I
oh,
just don't-
now I know. Now I know.
We're not gonna
what
get
not
it.
to
We're
do.
not. We're not
What
gonna get. We're
went
not
wrong
gonna.
with
Yeah.
Game
We're not
of
gonna get
Thrones,
into it. We're not
but-
gonna get into it. Sorry for
No,
bringing
my-
it up.
my-
Yeah.
Okay, the relevance here is Westworld didn't have a roadmap. They didn't know where they were going with it. They kicked off the first season. They had an idea, a theme. And
Well, they did have a roadmap. They just totally ignored what the original
Yeah.
roadmap.
They had a novel. You know.
They had a
Yeah,
novel
well-
and a movie, so they did have a roadmap, but they just ignored it. So,
Okay,
what's
that's
your point?
even more unexcusable. I was just
I
gonna
guess
say
the
that
Or inexcusable.
it's the anthology. I keep thinking of The Walking Dead, not because it's gritty or post-apocalyptic or anything like that, but the way that you can bring characters in and take them out without it necessarily affecting the story. Like, just about everybody original in Walking Dead at some point fucking dies or just disappears or does their own thing. So I can see where, in season 1, if this gets boring, they can start focusing on another character and just focus on the world, because there's not a big fucking world reveal in Fallout. It is what it is. It's survival, but it's in this weird kind of new society that's trying to build itself up. So the only long term thing I can really think is conflict between the Brotherhood of Steel and the Republic of California would probably make the best multi-series conflict, overarching conflict. Being a territory that's starting to get fought over by the two of them.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Moving on here. Speaking about Amazon. By the way, this is interesting. So there's this game that Amazon released, right, called Crucible. I actually reviewed it about a month ago, right? This is where it gets funny. About a week after my review dropped, they stopped. That's going to be a word we're going to use tonight. Unreleased. So they dropped 2 modes from the game, only leaving 1 mode, and now they've unreleased the game. They're putting it back in beta. I'm like, I've never heard of this. Like maybe with Final Fantasy 14, but I think they kept that game going until they released Realm Reborn. Like they're just pulling this thing. Like, oh, it's just going back in beta now. We're unreleasing this shit because the game was. By the way, I'm so glad I have an editor that just lets me be as vicious as I need to or real. I've had to rip this game apart, And I forgot the publication. I think it was Bloomberg. Shout out to Bloomberg. I can't believe I'm actually saying that. They actually quoted me in one of their articles about this stupid game where I said it's a hollow, empty experience, which it is. That game. That was. Oh, by the way, that's one of the pitfalls of being a game journalist. It's like sometimes you got to review bad fucking games. And that was one of them. So
Why can't they all be good games, Tony? Why?
you should be fair, Tony. No, fuck that shit, man. That game was trash. By the way,
I guess to point
Yeah.
at that, like, I mean, gaming is expensive. We all know gaming is expensive.
Yeah.
So it's like, I feel like, people can get upset, like, if they don't like a review. I mean, maybe they shouldn't be on the internet. I mean, the internet's full of opinions. So, but the thing is like, at the end of the day, it's like, if you read a review and if that person wasn't completely honest in their review, and then you buy this game and then you realize, oh, well, they didn't put this out in the review, or, oh, they said this was going to be fun. It's not really that fun, or they didn't really explain it. And then you have buyer's remorse over, so it's like, reviews are kind of just there's a lot of things that a review has to accomplish, but at like the end of the day, it's like just to inform you, like, hey, this is what you should expect in the game, like. It's like it's just part of just doing the research before you buy a game. Yeah.
By the way, I don't know if it was mean of me to say, but again, I had to keep it real. I was like, this game is free to play, and you still shouldn't bother playing it. I said that. It's like I don't like even free is not enough.
Yo, man, Tony, your scathing review caused them to unrelease it.
Yeah, it's my fault. Like I'm like Jason Schreier. Remember how he got The Last of Us? It was No Man's Sky. He got it delayed because of his report. Same logic. But yeah, again, really unprecedented. You unreleased a game. Like the game is out. It's like then like no, we're taking it back.
Here's the thing though. I mean, granted, it is a free game, but at the same time, after all the bad reviews, who's going to jump back on that shit?
That's a good point.
Well, they already invested time and money, so it's like, you know what? We can't just walk away and be like, "Oh, we fucked up." No, you got to go back to the drawing board. And
don't start what you can't finish.
Yeah.
We got to fix it. We got to do something, or else we're all off the job.
But it's the unreleasing that weirds my. Think about it like this, right? EA already said, "Hey, we're gonna redo Anthem," but Anthem's still there. It's still readily available. It's
so
interesting.
Full release.
Yeah, they're not pulling it like, okay, we're gonna pull it from store shelves, we're gonna pull it and we're gonna redo it. Like, just keeping it out there. So them, go ahead, Carlos. Carlos, go ahead. What were you saying before?
Oh no, it was a joke. Right. And I said it, and Brian is the only one that got it, but it's good.
That's usually how it is, man. You have a very British sense of humor, I guess.
Yeah, dry wit.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Yeah, what happened?
That's why he watches all that Benny Hill.
So that game. So if you bought it, you can still play it, right?
No, it's free to play, man.
Free. Oh, it's free to play.
Yeah.
I've never.
It's free to play.
I don't know, man. I was never interested in that game to begin with. So,
you had until it was like until like I think you had until like I think July 1st because it's like it's July 3rd now, but you had until like I think July 1st at like 9 a.m. like Eastern time or something like that. It's like you had until like that time to download it before it went back into like an invite only closed beta.
Yeah.
Ooh, man,
it's crazy stuff.
I'm so glad I missed it.
Yeah, you could tell that game was just trying to jump on every single like multiplayer trend right now. It had
I did see your review.
Yeah,
said that.
Yeah, I said like it's just a mishmash of everything, and it doesn't do anything well.
It was a hero shooter. It was a battle royale. It was a MOBA. I was like, it's also a headache because I'm thinking about all that stuff and I'm thinking about all those genres, what they have. And I was like, how are they going to put all this into one game? How are they going to make this the free to play?
Yeah.
How are they?
Loot boxes? Did they have loot boxes?
Not that I know of, because I think those are kind of shunned upon. But it basically, you could tell this game was created by a committee in a board meeting. Like, okay, what are we going to have in this game?
I'm sure Amazon. I'm sure this was what the committee was like. All right, you see all these games that are making money. Do everything that those games are doing.
Why does he sound like Stan Lee?
It's like, hey,
it's more like Grunkle Stan from Gravity Falls.
It's like the last 3 Cliffy B games.
Yeah,
they didn't work out, but let's put them all together.
Oh shit!
That guy Cliffy B? He's a genius. Do everything he did.
Do it, but better.
Do it better.
Get me pictures of Spider-Man. Where am I, J. Jonah Jameson now?
Spider-Man. You see what they're doing over there? Do exactly what they're doing, but better.
There you go. Oh man, we're having a lot.
Don't forget to get me pictures of Spider-Man.
We're having a lot of cameos throughout. We have Stan Lee and now J. Jonah Jameson.
And Gandalf.
And Gandalf. Oh!
Hey, what are you doing?
And Tito.
Perhaps you got a Superman.
Oh man. Anyway, I don't think we have anything more to say about that game. I'm not reviewing that again. Fuck that game. Oh man. All right, next up.
But Tony, don't you want to give it a fair shake?
No, I gave it a fair shake, man. And it didn't, nah. Anyways, by the way, I wish Chris was here. Oh, shout out to Chris. He's not feeling too well, so he couldn't join us tonight. But I had this story in here because I want him to, talk shit about Nintendo. But, we'll do our best. Anyway, so Nintendo is finally apologizing for the Joy-Con drift. fiasco. And that's just in response to a lawsuit. They're actually being sued because of that.
They're saying sorry because they got fucking sued. That's why they're saying sorry.
Yeah. Adam, didn't you experience this problem, Joy-Con drift?
Well, on the Powerade controller, third-party controller had the drift. Yeah. I don't have the Joy-Con drift for the actual Joy-Cons.
By the way, for those who don't know, what's the drift again, Adam?
The drift is on the left D-pad. It'll just go either up or down. Most of the time, it's just going down. So even if it's centered, the thumbstick is centered, it'll still drift down. It's something going on with the sensor. Some people say there's dirt. Some people say that it just gets stuck. But this was the same type of issue that happened on the Xbox One controller. When the Xbox One first launched, their first series of controllers all had that. I remember I had the Titanfall Special Edition, all excited for it. I maybe played about a month's worth of time with it, and then it just started drifting. But it was going up. My guy was just spinning all the way up all the time. I was like, oh, this is bullshit. So, my Joy-Cons don't have that problem because I don't even play. I use AP2. Thank you, AP2. I use their controllers. Yeah. I don't even use the Joy-Cons, but I do have that Power A controller. That's what
Power A. Yeah.
And that happened probably about 2 months ago. I had it on the desk, and I stepped away, and I came back, and I noticed that my character on screen was like moving around weird. I'm like, what the fuck? And I look on there. Sure enough, it's got that issue. I went to the menu, and it keeps pressing down. So it sucks. And for a long time, they were just saying, oh, it's an isolated thing. There was a certain bad batch, blah, blah. They were dancing around it, but now there's no dancing around it. It's all over the place. All over the world, people are having these issues with the Joy-Cons, with the Pro controllers, the worst. It's an expensive controller. And there's people that are like, hey, here's the receipts. I've gone through 3 of them within 6 months.
What?
And it's all because of drift.
Wow. I didn't realize the Pro controller had that issue, too, because that's the only one I use. I've never had that issue. But then again, I don't play that much Switch.
That's what I'm saying. You got to put in some time. Once you start putting in time, then that's when, remember, I was going through the whole Diablo 3. I replayed all that, and I was doing a lot of those long type
shit.
Marvel, and I guess I put in too much time on the shit, and I was like, oop, it's fucked. So... Do they have an estimation of how many hours you need to put in? Like, is it like a few hundred or something? Some people say
it's not a science.
Not a science.
Interesting.
They just know if you put in time.
Like, it might happen. It may happen. Like, I mean, I for one, knock on wood, I haven't had any of those problems with any of my Switch controllers. But I hear some people, they're like, oh, I just bought these Joy-Cons and I'm having issues with it. I'm like, what? And I'm like, you just bought them. And that's like $80.
Yeah, no.
That's the whole thing. Even new ones, new Joy-Cons, not like even the first year release. One that just came out, different color ones. People are ordering the ones even from Japan and having the same damn issue.
Wow. Damn, now it got me paranoid about my Pro controller. I love my Pro controller for Switch, man.
Yeah, it's scary.
I love the Pro controller. It is such a great controller.
Yeah, the Pro controller is up there with the other controller. Actually, in some ways, it's actually better than other controllers just because of the fact that it lasts so damn long. Like, when I play the Pro controller,
speaking of wireless, yeah.
I'm like, yo, when the hell was the last time I charged this shit? Meanwhile, PlayStation, after every session, I got to charge this shit. The
DualShock 4's battery life is just straight up dookie.
Yeah, it's booty. It's booty. Yeah. I will say this one thing with
this one.
Oh, hold on. Let me get you centered there, Adam. I have that controller. Didn't I send you that shit?
Yeah, you had it. Past tense.
I had it.
You were like, yo, I got something, and then you sent me this. But it worked. I liked using it. And now this shit just acts with.
Wow. Okay, good to know. No, because I sent you, because they sent me a shit ton of them. So I sent Adam that one extra. So I do have like 2 of those, and I only played them. I just tested them. I will say this though, because when I was playing some Dragon Quest 11 on Switch, which is actually a really good port, and my Pro controller ran out. So I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta use the Joy-Cons. But what I did was I used the Joy-Cons in the housing thing or whatever the fuck it is. Here's the interesting thing: when I turn on the system, the left Joy-Con doesn't turn on. Right? I have to actually take it out of the housing, click it back in for it to register there. I'm like, that's kind of weird. So there's something funky going on with that left Joy-Con in general, And again, I don't even use the Joy-Cons,
But the scary part, this is the second scary part. If you go on Reddit, there's people, and they even have their little case numbers and stuff. There's people that have used the warranty service of it, sent it back, had it come back, and then within a month or so, have the same issue.
Yeah.
Hold on. Nintendo decides, all right, we're going to start doing a replacement plan, they're not even sending out proper replacements.
Yeah.
They need to call up Microsoft and be like, yo, how did you fix this shit? Because now we're having it.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, just a quick thing. Brooklyn Bear Dio is also from Brooklyn, bruh. So you got you got Barry in there. So we got 3 motherfuckers in Brooklyn, and Adam used to live in Brooklyn too. So there you go.
Right, Coney Island.
Yeah,
Brooklyn.
I do want to say the reason I was saying hold on is because hold on, through the third. Really, he says that he's gone through 4 Switches already.
Wait, the Switch itself,
the console or the Joy-Cons?
There's a difference there.
Like, bro, like there's a difference. Like, have you gone through 4 Switches? Because that's a fucking issue.
He's dropping them.
You know, like what are you doing with the Switch, man? You battling actual people with them or something? Like, wow, he says the console. He's bought 4 Switch consoles. Wow, you must be mistreating that shit, boy.
He playing hockey with that ish.
Right? Fuck.
What I haven't seen, I don't know.
Yo, he's using it as a melee weapon in The Last of Us 2.
There you
know?
go. There you go.
Oh my god, Tony.
There you go. What I want to know is if this is happening to the Switch Lite, because those you can't detach. And
I heard that
really
there was reports of people experiencing drift on. I think it was the left analog stick.
That sucks because then you can't do
some people were having that on. I know that sucks because like you paying $200, you can't attach the Joy-Cons. You got what you got. It's like if you got drift, like
the chat saying that it does have drift. What's going on, Sketch?
Oh, that's sad.
Joy-Con
$200 and you got drift.
Man, that's some bullshit.
Even play certain games, so that's some ish.
Yo,
it's the analog sticks. They'll drift.
Yeah, they'll drift. Yeah, yo, do the
like
third,
I was watching
bro.
somebody play Breath of the Wild on the Switch Lite, and it literally, I saw the drift just going like right in my before my eyes. I was like, wow, that's a waste of $200.
That sucks.
Do the third said that it can be fixed with calibration. Check out.
Sometimes I've seen those. Sometimes it works, but not all the time. I'm going to try that though. That's one because I saw a bunch. There's so many guides. Most of them tell you just the end result is to open it up and to clean the sensors. Or sometimes
the thing is, it's like you shouldn't have to do that. If you're spending all this money, you shouldn't even have to do this.
Yeah.
But it's a shame that you have to, especially when you realize that a lot of people just aren't like good at like tinkering with gear and stuff and like tech stuff. So it's like and not to mention like what if this like the right to repair would that like void the warranty and things like that. Like it's just so much. There's so much just like anti-consumer stuff when it comes to like things like that with doing self repairs that it's like, it might. The chance that it may fix it. It's that there's the chance it may or may not. And so it's like it's almost like you're kind of just like it's not a win-win in any situation. No. It's kind of upsetting.
As much as people bitch, and myself included, about the DualShock controller, the battery sucks, but I never had any button issues, any thumbstick issues, trigger issues. All of it still works. I've dropped it. My kids have chucked it across the room. It just still works. So
it is a durable controller,
It's very durable.
The battery's not durable, but the controller is.
No, but...
Oh man,
that's a trade-off. I'll take that trade-off.
Yeah. By the way, this is kind of cool. Dio says when I do use my Switch on the go, I don't use the Joy-Con. I replace it for the Split Pad Pro that came with Daemon X Machina only for Street Fighter 30th anniversary. Oh, interesting. I didn't know about that.
I did not know that either.
Yeah, shout out to Street Fighter 30th anniversary was cool.
Yeah, it's a fun one. That's fun.
So apparently he just fixed it through calibration. We'll see. For
some people, I'll try that. And in fact, I'll try that this week, and then on Sunday's show, we'll talk about it. If not, I might even open it.
Yeah, you do that on air. By the way, Brooklyn Bear says he had a DualShock 4 remote explode in my hand. True story, bro. What?
You should have sued.
What? You should have, man. Damn.
Explode? Was it plugged in or not?
Now we can't. Yo, that could be the potential death of a Polanco. We can't be having that, bro.
Oh, gosh.
Granted, we'll probably replace you real quick as we breed a lot, but still, man.
Your young nephew shows up and he looks like you, and it's like, don't worry, I'm filling in for the next couple of years. This is, R.I.P. But you see, I have the same background, got all his goodies here still.
That shit happens every year, bro. Like, next year when you meet one of your cousins and they got 2 more kids, I'm like, okay, that's how we do it, Fuck. I got that secret. No, he's not secret. No, Joey. We're not related, but we both have the same last name. That's why we consider each other our unofficial cousins. But who knows? We could be actual cousins. You never know, man. By the way, funny story about Joey. I got to keep remembering that. I called him Jose for years Come to find out, he calls himself Joey. He never corrected me, not even once. You know, I was like, I looked at him like, this motherfucker's Dominican, Jose. You know, and then I look at his Twitter. I'm like, oh, it says Joey. I'm still gonna call you Jose though, brother.
That's okay, man. Brett was on a podcast with Brian for like 8 years and didn't know it was Brian.
He didn't know Brian was black, you know.
What? Brian's black?
Don't let the British accent fool you, man.
He's not a White Walker? What the fuck? Are you kidding me?
Just because he's from England doesn't mean he's a White Walker.
Oh shit!
You know.
Yeah, it does. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, that's true. They come from the north, man. Actually,
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Isn't the north of England like Scotland or something?
It's the border, Northumberland,
Scotland.
around there.
So I guess in Game of those terms, I live in King's Landing.
Yes.
Yeah,
You do. You actually do live in King's Landing. You live in London, so yeah. King's
Wait,
Landing.
so does that make Dorne Morocco or something?
Yes.
Yeah, like Spain, around there somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I always consider Dornish Spanish people. You know.
Yeah, the way they made it seem, and the actors, they always picked them up as a Spanish actor.
So yeah, we're not gonna get to Game of Thrones right now. Anyway, we're done here. Taylor, thank you for joining us tonight. Please plug your stuff.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Taynixter. That's TAYNIXSTER. And if you want to check out my stuff, I'm over at theverge.com.
Awesome stuff.
Oh, yeah,
I'm glad you
congrats.
mentioned that. Last
I
time
saw
I had to
that.
check you
Yeah,
on that.
congrats.
I had to check you on that. I was like, yo, you know you write for a site, right? You may want to plug that. Oh, man. Good stuff. By the way, people, we're closing in on episode 300 of both podcasts very soon. That will actually happen. I'll tell you right now. By the way, this is how organized we are on Throwdown. We always know what episodes are going to air on what date. So, yes, on September 3rd, we're going to have episode 300, right? And then of Throwdown, and then September 6th, 300 of Throwdown Your Questions. That'll be an AMA, Carlos. So get ready, man.
Yeah.
You know, I know how much you love those, man. So it'll be good stuff. Anyway, we're out of here, man. So thank you for watching and listening. Subscribe to Throwdown on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. Follow us on Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook at Throwdown Show. Links are located in the description below. Once again, our show is Tony Polanco. And tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez,
See you later, guys.
Carlos Romero,
Hey, take care, everyone.
Brett Murdoch,
It has been real, party people.
Adam Vale.
Real quick, two things. One, tomorrow doing another WrestleCast for night 2 of
Yeah,
Fighter
yeah.
Fest AEW, and also over at the Coalition, we are partnering with the people that are putting together the Pretending I'm a Superman, the Tony Hawk documentary.
Oh, shit.
So we got all kinds of stuff that'll be coming from them, some interviews, and they're doing a screening and all kinds of stuff with that. So that's going to be exciting. So stay tuned for all that Tony Hawk stuff.
Nice. Brian Manjoma.
No funny outro today. Just keep safe, people. It's 4th of July soon, and things are crazy over there. So keep safe.
Word. And Taylor Lyles.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tony, on the an official Throwdown episode. And to all the viewers out there, stay safe, wash your hands, and please wear a mask.
Your word. All right, people. We'll see you on Sunday. Later.
Later.
Jesus.
See ya.